Hello everyone. So now we are starting with the risk appetite portion. Okay. Now the word itself saying that how much is your appetite? How much is your appetite means how much amount of risk you can bear. Okay. That we need to calculate. That how much risk we can bear is an important concern for the organization as a whole. Means suppose there are four departments A, B, C and D. They all are trading independently. They all are trading independently and their independent amount of loss, okay, for one day, say 300, it can be 200, say 100 and now 400. So cumulatively if I will take, it will give me the loss of 1000, but I will see that there is some relationship between A and C. Means if the loss of A will increase, the loss of C will decrease. So in such a scenario my total loss will not exceed 1000, rather than it will be lower than 1000, because if the loss will rise in A will be offset by the gain in C, then suppose it become 350 and it became say 40. So can you see there is a 50 units increase in loss and there is a 60 unit decrease in loss. So what will be now our total loss? Now it will be decreased by almost 10. Clear? So it will become 990. So we need to find out that what is our really the risk appetite. Means suppose I am saying that my risk appetite is $700, but if a loss of $800 will occur, I won't be able to survive. So can I say that this is my risk appetite? Now in order to find out risk appetite, there is a 5-step management process. Okay, 5-step management process, and we have to go through this 5-step so that we can find out the risk appetite. Along with that we can optimize and monitor our risk appetite. Clear? Now what are those 5 steps? Write it down. First one is to identify your risk appetite. Means what is really your risk appetite. Next is you have to map all the known risk. All the risk which you know, you have to map them. Next, operationalize the risk appetite. Next, implement the plan. Whatever the plan you are making, that will keep all the trading activities under our risk appetite. Then we need to monitor and adjust the plan. Why? Because with the changing market, even our risk appetite is also changing. So we need to keep a close watch over the risk appetite, and if some changes needed, we need to adjust the plan. So now let us start with the risk appetite and try to find out the risk in more detail. Now try to understand what is risk appetite. Basically, if SDFC is a bank, now I ask bank how much or how many types of risk you are willing to retain. Means this is the type of the risk that I am willing to retain, neither avoid nor mitigate nor transfer. Amount of risk I am willing to retain. But now there are two sub components. Okay, when I am saying about the risk, there are two things. One is the willingness, how much you really desire for the risk, and the next is your ability. Now there is a trade-off between two. How? Let me give you an example. We all know higher the risk, higher the return. So what my willingness is? My willingness is to have the higher amount of return, but at the cost of higher amount of risk. But I have a certain ability. Means if my level of risk will go beyond say $700, I won't be able to survive. There will be a question mark on my survivability in the future. But yes, in order to attain the desired goals, what are my goals? To attain the higher return, my willingness to take the risk will increase, but up to the level of my ability to take risk. What is this ability? Means this much I have the assets in my hand, and if I will lose these assets, I won't be able to survive in the future. Clear? So basically we can say this really put a cap on the willingness. How it will put the cap? Suppose if I will take the risk of $500, there is a chance of $3000 return. Now if I little increase my risk, the increase in return is 3700. If I will increase my risk to 700, there is a tremendous increase in the return, and if I again going to increase the risk, I am going to get huge amount of return. Now you are willing to take this risk. Why you are willing to take this risk? Because you are getting a huge amount of return, but this is your cap. You cannot go beyond this. This is basically the boundaries which you cannot cross, because if you will cross this, there will be a question mark on your survival. Might not be true. Means suppose if I am saying that I will take the risk of 700, means I am investing $700 somewhere. So there are two chances. One, I will get $4800 or I will get zero. Means there is a loss of 700 in this case. But if this will happen, then I will be having a profit. Now obviously I can say that this is the amount which is at stake, this is the amount which is at risk. But yes, at risk I cannot say this is the loss amount, because that will completely be dependent on the future. What will happen in the future, I don't know. What will happen in the future, I don't know. But yes, today this is the amount of my risk, and if I will take this bet, I will be having this amount of risk. Might be it will like fall at $500, then I can say that I have the loss of only $200. But yes, I have the amount of risk is $700. Clear? So this is the risk, but what will happen in the future, we don't know. So today if we know that this is the amount of risk, and if we will go beyond this, there is a chance that I will be like, there will be a question mark on my survival, and I won't be able to survive in the future. What if I will take on this bet? Suppose I invested $800 somewhere, and that told that if it will work for you, you will be getting $6300, and if it won't work, you will get zero. Means a complete loss of $800. So today this is the risk, but in future it can be the loss or it can be the gain, we don't know. But yes, risk exists today. Today risk exists, and this is the reward which exists today. But yes, risk and reward will convert into gain and loss into the future time period, not now. Clear? Now every manager willing to take the risk of $800 because he feel that he is having the good knowledge of the market and he will earn this much of the return. But this might not be true. Market can go really against him. So now in order to protect, in order to keep the cap that yes, this is your level and you cannot breach this level, there are two controls. Okay, one is the internal risk control, internal risk control, and the next one is our regulatory constraints. Now what is this internal risk control actually is? The board of directors of HDFC Bank will set up a limit that you cannot cross the $700. If you will cross, I will instantly cancel all the trading positions. I will instantly cancel all the trading position. And what about the regulatory constraints? This is by the central bank, which states that suppose if you have $3,000, you have received the deposit of $3,000. Okay, you can give loan only up to $2,300. You have to keep $700 in your hand. Means if in case some loss will arise, you will use this $700 to repay the amount of loss, so that there will not be any question mark on your survival probabilities. Clear? Now there is one more thing which board of director won't tell the risk manager. Means board of directors said that you can take risk only up to $700, but in reality, in reality their ability to take risk is $850. Their ability to take risk is $850, but they are giving the relaxation only up to the $700 to the traders. Why they are keeping this $150 as a margin? The reason is that, see, there are some models, with the help of those models they are able to arrive to this value, that okay, this is my ability to take risk. But what if there are some error in the model, okay, which I don't know, but there are, okay, if some input values we have taken or some assumptions we have taken to arrive this value might not hold true in the real market, then in order to keep the safeguard they have these $150 as a margin. Means if in any case my loss will start exceeding $700, they can instantly close all the position and use some amount from this $150, so that they will be even at the survival position. Now suppose just I am giving you an example. If suppose this is the $700 and this is only the ability, and suppose this is a runway, suppose this is a airbase runway. Now a flight is coming and we told them that anyhow you have to stop by this point, and after this there is a huge water level, means there is a huge pond. Okay, if the aircraft will cross this level, the aircraft will fall into the water pond, and everyone will die. So do you really think that this is the best approach? But now what we are doing, suppose here is the $700 runway and here is $800 runway, and then we have a big water pond. Now I told the pilot that you have to anyhow stop by 700, but in case of some margin of error, might be wind flowing in the same direction and it took the aircraft somewhere here. Okay, so still everyone will be safe. Hope you are getting the point with this example. Clear? So my ability is this, but I am keeping the margin, some margin in my hand, so that in case even if I breach the margin, I will be able to survive. Clear? Okay, so now we are looking at what are the roles of the board of director. Means this is just an example what I have given to you just now, that how they are really maintaining their organization and they are really focusing on the survival of their organization rather than taking the organization deep into the pond where there is a risk of the life to the organization. So apart from this, there are lots of roles which the senior management as well as the board of director needs to work upon. Clear? So now all the concepts or all the ideas behind the risk appetite are calculated at the level of senior management and the board of directors. Okay, they calculate on what is our real risk appetite and what is the ability or what is the cap which we have to give to our traders. So say $700. So this is defined at the level of senior management and board of directors. Now they will create a policies and procedures and they will communicate it to the stakeholders as well as to all the people. Means can I say that stakeholder is really a big term. Okay, it includes everyone outside the organization as well as inside the organization. So they are dispatching this information, they are communicating this information to all the stakeholders, and these stakeholders will include the traders also, those who are inside the organization and those who have to sit on the desk to trade. And the information can be in the form of quantitative, okay, as well as in the form of qualitative. So I have given you an example for the quantitative, that is the war. In the we have to give them in terms of war, that is our quantitative. What is qualitative? Scenario analysis and stress testing. So every details needs to be communicated with all the stakeholders so that they can understand that what is our real risk appetite. Clear? So the board of director will decide whether which risk they want to retain or which risk they want to avoid or mitigate or transfer. It is completely up to the senior management and board of directors. Now when it comes to the willingness, okay, willingness to take risk, it is completely dependent upon the two parties. One is the debt holder and the other one is the shareholder. Now there is a conflict between both of them. What is the conflict? See, debt holder, they are getting a fixed income, they are getting fixed income, okay, means it hardly matters to them if the revenue of the company is increasing by huge numbers, okay, it hardly going to impact them. But when it comes to the shareholders, when they will get the money? When the bank will make lots of and lots of profit. And when we can make lots of and lots of profits? When we will take lots of risk. Means shareholder want more income. So in order to have more income, they need to take more risk. If they will look at from the point of view of the shareholder, but from the point of view of the debt holder, they are earning the fixed income and they want that the risk of the organization will be low, because if there will be low risk, there will be low variability in the income, and if bank will survive, then they are going to get their money back. Let me give you an example. Suppose there are 5 debt holders, each of them given $100 to HDFC Bank. Now what will happen? If bank will work well, bank will pay only 10% interest, means at the end they all will be getting $110, okay, they have the fixed amount of money which they are going to get. But if bank will not perform well, then in that situation, suppose the assets of the bank really decreased a lot because they have taken the lots of risk. Now in that situation, debt holders are unable to get their full amount. What they will get? They will get only say $70. Means what? If the bank will take huge amount of risk, there are chances that the debt holder will get lower amount of payment. But in case of shareholder, suppose they have given $300 to the bank, okay, HDFC Bank. If bank will not perform, their $300 will be at loss. But if bank will perform really good, there is chances that they can earn $700. There is chances they can earn $900. If perform really well, there is chances they can earn $1,300 as well. So means what? What the equity holder want? That bank should take huge amount of risk. So can we say that the board of director are in the dilemma to whom to listen? But yes, they have to look at the survival of the organization as a whole. So now what they will do? They will state their goals as really what are their goals, and they will create a statement, and that statement will be distributed among everyone. So in that statement, they will clearly mention that what are their risk appetite. So every detail are stated in a very clear and actionable manner, and now this communication will be dispersed in two forms. One is for the external use and the other one is for the internal use. Means what? Now we are dispersing the information in two way, okay. The first one, that is our internal one, okay, it is a broad statement of risk appetite. So write it down. Internal one, okay, first we will do the external one. It is a broad statement of risk appetite. Broad statement of risk appetite means how much we can really take the risk. So it is given to shareholder and debt holder as well. Clear? And the internal statement is very detailed. Okay, internal statement is very detailed, means it is focusing only on the risk appetite. But the second one, which is very detailed, it is used internally. Okay, it is used internally by all the employees of the organization, which include our risk managers and the other managers of the enterprise level. Means that how to do the business, how to take the decisions, okay, what are our business cycles, how to identify the troublemaking situations, and wherever possible how we can mitigate the our risk. So all those things are clearly mentioned in the detailed report, and as well as they will look into that we are not breaching our risk appetite, and what are the measures we have to take so that we will not breach, and in case if we will breach, what are the measures we have to take. So everything will be completely in detail, but this was just a broad statement which is just talking about the risk appetite. So now when board of director are deciding upon the risk appetite, they have to decide that what type of the risk, means there is a credit risk, there is operational risk, there is market risk, there is liquidity risk. So are you defining that what is the amount for each, or you are defining as a whole? It should be mentioned very clearly. Okay, as well as there is a legal risk, what is the amount you are apportioning to the legal risk, what is the amount you are apportioning to reputation risk, what is the amount you are apportioning to strategic risk. Every risk must be defined in a very detailed manner. Now suppose, second point, I am the risk manager of the company. Board of director ask me that if here I am having the risk of $700, I am getting the reward of say $3,500. Now board of director asking me, is there any other opportunity available where I am going to suppose say increase my little risk from 700 to 800 and my reward will drastically increase? If that is the situation, I am ready to take the risk. Okay, so means board of director now trying to find out, is there any opportunity available in other types of risk, because if we are taking the risk, obviously we are looking for the higher amount of premium. Next, board of director want to know that is there any kind of correlated risk, means suppose there is a bank, HDFC bank, and he have given a loan to a citizen of USA. Okay, now bank is going to get $5,000. Now there are two different kinds of risk. If you will see, one is the market risk, means what if the value of the dollar decrease from 70 per dollar to 60 per dollar, means if I look at previously that how much amount I am going to get, and now I am going to get only 60 per dollar, means there is a loss of 10 per dollar, means I am having the loss of 50,000 rupees because of the decrease in the exchange rate. So this is a market risk. Apart from this, there is a credit risk as well, means what if the citizen of USA will not pay me the money, he default, then there is a credit risk. So now board of director wants to know that what are the different types of risk that we have from a particular transaction or from a particular business line, and are they correlated, and which risk we need to hedge and which risk we need to accept. Suppose I said that he is very credit worthy, okay, we can trust this person that he will not default because we have lots of collateral also. So now we know that we don't have to do anything regarding our credit risk, but yes, we have to anyhow manage or hedge our market risk. Clear? Now time is also one of the major criteria. How? Board of director called me and asked me, see, we have two different type of risk. Okay, one risk is for a short term and the other risk is for the long term. Now board of director wants me to give a review on this, that what we can do. Okay, we have two type of risk, short term risk as well as the long term risk. So I tell my board of directors that see, the risk is after say 30 years, but in order to protect yourself, in order to hedge your risk, you have to give cash now. Means for the risk which is coming after 30 years, you have to do some outflow of the cash now. So can you see that this is going to impact the cash into your balance sheet? So this is the one of my review, potential review, that okay, if you'll hedge the risk, that is really good, but can you see that it is going to like let the cash outflow from our balance sheet. Might be we can use this cash in some other side from where we can have a good amount of return. Clear? So this is my review for the long term risk. So now I can say my board of director, it is better to hedge the short term risk, because if this risk will occur, now, this will really create a question mark on the sustainability of our organization. So better to hedge our short term risk now and wait for the long term risk, because it will leads to the cash outflow. Clear? So this is my review for time horizon. Now there is one more thing, is suppose I am giving you the value of the war, means this is your war at 99 percentile, means you are 99% sure that your loss will not exceed 700. But suppose this is you have expected one day before, say on 20th June 2020. Okay, these you have expected on 20th June. Now 21st came, and now you are seeing on the screen that your loss is now say $7,000. This is your loss, and this is what you have estimated, because you have left 1% chance, and this 1% chance result you the loss of 7,000. So my question is that, can you really tell the whole risk of the organization in just a single number? This is really a big thing. If I am talking about the risk of HDFC Bank, and I am saying that risk of HDFC Bank is just 700, means I am trying to express the whole risk in just a single number. Just don't focus on the number, just focus on the concept which I am saying, that a single number can really define the risk of the whole firm. No, it's not possible. Okay, somewhere we need to understand that yes, our business model is very complex, it's very unique. So only a single number cannot just inform me about the level of risk in which I am standing. So there are lots of things in which the board of director and the risk manager will communicate, and they will come up with something which can really help them to have, so that the organization will survive for the longer period of time, and they can make their customers happy, make their debt holders happy, make their shareholders happy, and make all the borrowers happy, those who are coming into the bank. Okay, so we will do the last topic of this lecture, and then we will end this lecture, that is our risk mapping. Now what is this risk mapping is all about? Now previously also I have discussed with you all about the risk mapping. Means a firm will be having market risk, liquidity risk, credit risk, operational risk, legal risk, okay, reputational risk, strategies. Now what is risk mapping says, that every risk will be combined into a small bucket, and to find out whether there are chances that market risk can cancel out the reputational risk, or liquidity risk can cancel out the operational risk. Means I have to see from the organization perspective, is there any benefit which we are getting, or might be the chances if market risk will increase, my credit risk will also increase. If there are such positions, there are some correlations available, we need to map them, otherwise we won't be able to find out the actual risk. Why? Because if suppose I am saying that market risk plus credit risk plus operational risk, okay, I am having only these kind of risk, and it is $300, means $100 each. But when I took them into the bucket, I have seen that if market risk will increase, my credit risk will also increase. Means if it will become 120, it will also become 120, and my risk, see, it is increasing by 20 and it is also increasing by 20, it will become 340, means one is affecting the other. Might be the correlation is negative, means if market risk will increase, credit risk will decrease. It become say 80, then it will become 120 and it will say 100. So can I say that this is my risk? So if there is a positive correlation, we need to identify. If there is negative correlation, we have to identify. Clear? So this is whole about the risk mapping. So here we have done some good topics. Okay, one is how we can identify our risk. We have studied a lot about the risk appetite. Then what are the roles of the boards of director? Clear? And then we have understood that what are the different points related to like different types of risk we have understood. Then what are the risk management prospect, means only a single number cannot define your risk. Then we have done about our risk mapping. So lots of things we have studied in this lecture. So I end this lecture here, the remaining will continue ahead. Thank you.